Welcome back. Way back in part one, my dear wife Ginger suggested that we go to Iceland and ride the little horses. Being the guy that I am, I immediately agreed. The problem came in that we are cheap. And we underestimated the difference between spring in South Carolina and spring in Iceland. So to save a few dollars, we went to Iceland in April and was met with 33 degrees and raining sideways. Now we still got to ride the little horses. We rode the little horses every day except for the one day when the weather was even bad by Icelandic standards. And on that particular day, we actually went swimming outside. I think that's got us caught up on part one. I want to start off part two with a confession. You see, my name is Howard, and I'm an addict. I've got a big old monkey on my back, and it's called the television. I love it. I love everything about it. You can sit and be entertained for a month and not have to move anything but your thumb. And you don't even have to do that if you're not very picky about what you watch. Now, Ginger knows this about me. She knows that I have this problem. And so, bless her heart, she actually called Iceland before we went and inquired as to their television situation. And she found out that the satellite dishes in Iceland can pick up American satellites. Do you know what this means? This means I could go to Iceland and I could watch in English as Gilligan did not get rescued, as Hogan did not get captured, as Jethro Bodine does absolutely nothing even remotely intelligent. So that first morning I pulled my work over to me and I excitedly turned on that television set. There was no Gilligan, there was no Hogan, there was no Jethro Bodine. It was all Icelandic. You see, sometimes when you go to Iceland in the spring, you're there during a blizzard. Satellite dishes don't see anybody's satellites during the blizzard. But I'm an addict and I'm not very picky, so it's okay. I found myself a music video station and I'm working away and I look up and they're advertising a beach. Everybody who's walking around is practically naked. There's sun, there's surf, there's big guys kicking sand on little guys, you know, it's a beach. Then the scene changes. And it's the advertisement for a nightclub. It's darker, everybody is fully clothed. They're dancing, they're flirting, they're hooking up. And then the scene changes. And it's a cartoon drawing of a naked couple. And they are, let's say that they are demonstrating a position out of the Kama Sutra. This particular position shares part of its name with a yoga posture and your puppy at home. I'll tell you, I did not have my mind fully wrapped around this when the scene changed and it was the same couple in a different position. And then a different position and a different position. It went on and on and on. And at no other time when we were in Iceland did I really, really wish that I understood the language. Because I wanted to know what this announcer was saying about this truly athletic couple. I had hoped that this was a new exercise program that was being backed by the Icelandic government. And you know that would make the Icelandic government the best ever. But I'm afraid that that is not true, because if it were, you and I both know that we would be watching half-hour infomercials by now about a new weight loss program that was developed in India and it was perfected in Iceland. It was guaranteed that if you just follow this program, you will lose weight as long as you also watch your diet. What I finally decided is that after the crass capitalism of the two commercials, the TV station felt guilty. And they felt like they really needed to give something back. So purely as a public service, they put on this thing, on this educational piece on the Kama Sutra. Well, that got me to thinking about all those things that in Iceland that were kind of like America, but not quite. You see, we have commercials. We will have commercials in anything. But we would not do that Kama Sutra thing because, let's face it, as a culture, we fully embrace our capitalism and we feel no need to give anything back. All those things that were sort of like America, toilets. Their toilets look like ours, their toilets work like ours, and by that I mean that they have seats, so there's no hovering required, which does not sound like much, but it really, really made me happy. But also, where our toilets, we only have one choice for flush. They actually have two. They have two buttons, depending on what you did in there. So if you left solid waste, you had one button. Liquid waste, you had another button. And they had little pictograms on them so that you could tell which was which. I'm not even going to discuss those. Computers, they have computers, they've got the internet. We actually got an email on the farm's computer while we were there. When I went back to answer it, their keyboard looks just like our keyboard. Until you get to the little finger on the right hand. Then they have extra letters. Now, I'll have to admit, I actually did throw some of these into my reply whenever I replied back to our friends, just to confuse them. Exit signs. Exit signs in America are pretty simple. They just say exit. This is the way out of the building. We were in Quebec recently, and their exit signs are a little bit more complicated because they're a bilingual city. So they have exit in French, exit in English, and then a pictogram of a little dude that is calmly walking to the door. And isn't that what every emergency announcement you have ever heard always says? Do not panic, do not run, calmly walk to the door and exit the building. This is what the exit signs look like in Iceland. This dude is clearly not calmly walking any place. He is running. He is hauling butt. What does their emergency announcement sound like? Is it, run, run now. We can only save 10 people. Run if you want to live. Is it like opening the Walmart doors on Black Friday only in reverse? I guess the biggest difference between us and Iceland is the weather and how we dress for riding. This is a picture of my dear bride Ginger riding in the spring in South Carolina. I would like to point out that she has a sweater tied around her waist just in case the temperature drops below 74. This is Ginger dressed to ride in Iceland. You'll have to take my word for it. It is Ginger. South Carolina, Iceland. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. We really did have a great time on our vacation, even though I've had fun talking about it. I mean, the people in Iceland, they seem gruff, but they work hard, they play hard, and they're nice as they can be once you get to know them. The landscape in Iceland, it looks stark, but it is really, really beautiful in its own way. We saw geysers, we saw glaciers, we saw waterfalls, all in the same day. And the little horses. Believe it or not, the weight limit for these little horses is actually higher than the weight limit for the big mules at the Grand Canyon. If we were not already feeding 3 horses and a mule, I will guarantee you we would have brought a little mare named Isabel home with us. These little horses were magnificent. But I guess the real test for any vacation is, would you do it again? And Ginger and I have talked about it. And yes, we would go back to Iceland. We had that good of a time. But I'm pretty sure we wouldn't do it and do it on the cheap. We would wait for July. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to be notified if I ever put out another one, then please click submit if I get it someplace on this page. Or if you haven't seen part 1, hopefully I'll get part 1 button on this page someplace. But either way, I hope that you had a good time, because I know that I did, and maybe someday we will meet face to face. But until then, bye now.